I've only watched about half of this clip, but it's so good, and it's one of the most glorious segments on modern race relations that I've ever seen on live TV. So I thought I'd have some fun here and just kind of do my reaction live.
Well, the University of Colorado at Colorado Springs is offering students credit if they create a series of, quote, witnessing whiteness workshops in their hometowns. The program is offered by the school's graduate certificate program in diversity, social justice, and inclusion. That's, of course, a department name that should strike fear into all who hear it, and for good reason, because, among other things, the program focuses on the alleged traits of the, quote, dominant white culture. These traits include, quote, superficiality and, quote, extreme exploitation of labor and resources for profit. David Bernstein is the founder of the group Run for America. He wrote the book Fast Future, How the Millennial Generation is Shaping Our World. David, thanks for coming on.
Stop right there. I gotta know right now.
Stop right there, David Bernstein. I can already see it coming. We are going to get some serious my fellow white people action here. This is the classic Jewish man teaching whiteness studies and making money off of black identity movements. I'm telling you, listen, as a Jewish person, I see this left and right. We are going to get some teaching your kids to hate white people while pretending to be white, only to turn back to being Jewish when it's strategically or tactically convenient. Now listen, I say this as a Jew. I love Jewish people, but these kind of tactics, these identity politics tactics, have to be called out. This isn't about demonizing a people. This is about calling out a very specific tactic, much like the white privilege tactics that Mr. Bernstein loved to talk about Gentiles doing. I think equality is a dish best served cold.
Good to be with you, Tucker.
You a little surprised that racist crap like this exists in the open in 2018?
Shots fired. Okay, this is how you do it. You go right for it. You set the most aggressive frame you can hold, and then you never break frame. That is the effect called anchoring. When you anchor, so the first mover in the conversation to set the emotional tone anchors the other person to it. You can tell right off the bat that Bernstein was not expecting that. Something tells me that there in academia, people don't lead with that argument very often.
Well, I don't know that I would necessarily call this racist crap, but I think the reality is that there is a white experience in America that is different from a black experience in America. I think anybody who's lived in America knows that those two things are different things. And, you know, while I don't necessarily agree with every way that these folks are going about it, I think it is the beginning of perhaps a conversation about what does it actually mean to have a white experience.
What you just heard was the Moat and Bailey. This is Bernstein trying to say, well, no, all I'm trying to do is have a conversation. See, it's clear that there are differences and different experiences of individuals of different ethnic groups. See, that's the moat. That's the safe statement, the safe truism that everybody agrees with. And he wants to make you believe that that's all he's trying to say. Just that simple truism that everybody knows. And then he will strategically oscillate between that and the insanely aggressive, evil, genocidal position he takes. That whiteness, being white, is inherently toxic.
Perhaps a conversation about what does it actually mean to have a white experience. We've been studying the black experience in America.
No, it's not the beginning of a conversation. It's the beginning of a series of attacks on people on the basis of their skin colors.
Bam! Just like that. That's all there is to it, Dustin. That's all there is to it. A winner! Just like that. We'll be right back with our Price is Right. Don't go away.
So to say that white people, white culture exploits in an unusually aggressive way the labor of others, that's an attack. And by the way, is it true? I mean, is white culture more likely to do that than, I don't know, Chinese culture? I don't know, but I know racism, textbook definition when I see it, and that's lumping a group of people together on the basis of their appearance and immutable characteristics and attacking them. That's what this is. Why is this not racist?
Well, I think the way in which it is presented certainly is not the direction that you want to go if you want to actually do what I think really should be done, which is actually have a conversation about what white privilege actually means in this society. You and I both know, as white men sitting here, that there is such a thing as white privilege.
There it is. The money shot. There it is. You and I both know as white men. You just know this guy has a Twitter timeline that's just littered with him saying, I'm not white, I'm Jewish. But then when he's talking to white people, you're white like me. Fellow white people. I mean, look how quickly he turns to that. At one side of his mouth, he's telling Gentiles to believe that they are evil, that they are privileged, that everything they have, but not anything any other group has, is unearned and the product of injustice. And at the other end, saying, I'm one of you guys. You can trust me. You can trust me. But you know there's an underbelly to all of this. You know deep inside there's a flight from white in Mr. Burstein. And the problem I have as a Jewish person is this guy is shitting on all of our parades.
Many Ashkenazi Jews don't see ourselves as white. And so it's very awkward to identify white and non-white Jews or white and black Jews because we don't identify the whiteness as part of our own identity. But I will just say, my sense is that when Jews, growing up, I have always checked other on those sheets, when we have to write what our race is, because white, that's not me. Those were slave owners in the South. Like, my people were getting chased by, Cossacks. Like, that's not my history. That's not my history. That's not my history.
I remember back when I was in high school, people told me that I'm tight for a white dude. I'm not white, I'm Jewish. I'm not white, I'm Jewish. Back when I was in high school, people told me that I'm tight for a white dude. I'm not white, I'm Jewish. I'm not white, I'm Jewish. Yeah.
I don't know that, actually. I mean, there are non-white immigrant groups that have, on average, higher annual incomes than average white Americans. It's much more complicated than you and other sort of glib apologists for racism suggest that it is. You can't generalize about people on the basis of their skin tone, right?
Of course you can't.
Or can you?
Of course you can't. You can't generalize. But there are trends that we have seen. It would be disingenuous for us to suggest that there aren't a larger number of, say, white people than black people in this country who have benefited tremendously from their privilege. I think that would be a disingenuous statement over time, and that there are more white people who
I don't know. I mean, wait, hold on. Stop. Are you comfortable making generalizations about other racial and ethnic groups that are negative? Any generalizations? Go ahead and try one. You just said that white privilege is real. No, I'm serious. If we're going to have the honest conversation that you're calling for, then I call on you to be honest and make a negative generalization about any other racial or ethnic group in this country. Go ahead.
Look at the power of holding frame. Burstein is so used to people acknowledging terms of the debate, so that it's already a rigged game by the time you step up to the card table. Don't accept any of their threshold assumptions. Look at this. He's already shook.
This guy don't want to battle. He's shook because ain't no such things as halfway crooks.
Look at how Tucker sets the frame there. He says, I call on you to do this. It's so subtle, but what he's doing is two things. One is he's demonstrating complete and total earnesty. You know the authenticity in his voice, in his intentions. He is clear, he has conviction, he's direct, but he's also massively dominant. There's also a beautiful verbal parallel poetry to the way he phrased it. He said, you called on me to have a conversation, so I call on you to carry it through. So he's already anchored this as if there's now a reciprocal obligation on Burstein to play by the rules that he himself set up.
You got the floor.
It's really beautiful.
I think that what where I see where you're trying to go.
No. You don't need to think anything. I'm asking you, will you make a negative generalization about another racial or ethnic group?
I'm not going to be baited into.
I'm not baiting you. I'm asking you a sincere question. Will you or won't you?
Here is.
Oh, the answer's no. Why?
Because Tucker, the reality is when we try and talk about and understand things that are going on, whether they're generations, whether they're groups of people, we make generalizations in order to have a conversation. Because of course, every single individual person is different. But you won't make a generalization except about one. No, hold on. I'm inviting you to make a negative generalization, as you just did about one group, about any other group. There are many groups in this country. And you say it's, sometimes we generalize. I get it. You want to have an honest conversation. I get it. Let's do that right now on live TV. Again, why don't you make a single negative generalization about any other racial or ethnic group? And again, I give you the floor. I'll be quiet as you speak. Go ahead and do that. Well, look, I think there's a claim that can be made about the fact that there now in this country we have people who are benefiting tremendously from a huge move towards diversity and inclusion, quote unquote, programs that are designed to prioritize people of other ethnicities.
Which people?
Over people.
I mean, be a lot more specific. No, make a generalization about a culture,
Latino, African-American and Latino people over white people? Be precise.
So, no, you're critiquing a program. That's a program that you're critiquing, and I think you're right. Critique the culture, as you just did white culture, whatever that is. But you're assuming it's real, so tell me, generalize about another racial ethnic group's culture.
Tucker, I think you're missing an important distinction here. Because you're missing an important distinction.
You're missing the important distinction, which is this only goes in one direction, and you bully people by making generalizations that are not strictly speaking true. And if you're not, on board with it, you're a racist, and then you get to attack those people. Because that doesn't apply to any other group, which is itself racist. Will you acknowledge that?
I see where you're going with this argument, Tucker, but I think the reality is that
that's the argument. I just said it out loud.
There's a group of people who have been systemically oppressed in this country for a long period of time. And those are people who are overwhelmingly people who are African American and Latino.
Not that it matters, but this is of course a bold-faced lie. There has been absolutely no systemic discrimination against Hispanics in this country. And certainly much more systemic discrimination against Asians who overperform relative to whites than Hispanics. There is not a single pogrom, genocide, historical event, war, or otherwise any injustice ever perpetrated upon Hispanics in America. But you know why Burstein has to say that? Because Latinos are the fastest growing demographic group in America, and they are absolutely essential to the Democrat political power coalition. They have to seal up brand loyalty for the rapidly growing and soon to be 30% of the U.S. population within our lifetimes. It's political power. It has nothing to do with truth. This man is lying to you through his teeth.
There's a long history of this. You and I both went took U.S. history courses.
You're changing the conversation. What you did was you said it was okay to attack one culture, but it's not okay to attack other cultures. And I'm asking you why that is. An 18-year-old college student did not participate in Jim Crow, did not participate in slavery, is not most of the time knowingly participating in the oppression of anybody, but it's okay to attack that person because his ancestors did something bad, but that's not okay to do to other groups because why? You don't have an answer.
Look,
no one ever calls you guys on this, but I just did.
I think you're really missing the point here, which is that saying if you just because you want to say that someone is being criticized for the basis of what a culture is doing, that's racist.
No. Collective race guilt is wrong. It's racist to attack people for things they didn't do because of the way they look. It's really simple. You're on board with it. I'm not. And unfortunately, we're out of